Humongous.
Humongous what?
Humongous.
Humongous what?
That's what it is.
Humongous what? Is that sexual harassment?
No, it's humongous.
Then why did you say that to
That's
me?
my name.
What? Humongous what?
Humongous what?
Humongous what? Is that sexual harassment? Is that what you just did when you said that to me?
What, humongous?
Why would you say that to me?
Yes, but my name.
Why would you say that to me?
Why would I say it to
Why
you?
would you say that to me?
Why would you ask me my name?
What? Humongous what? Humongous what?
No, they said that they already made one.
Humongous what? Humongous what? Which person just spoke to me in a sexually harassing?
Hugh Mungus. Well, Seattle activists are the worst. Hey, it's Prince of Queens, and we were just looking at a better view of the Seattle activist who began somewhat harassing a guy she disagreed with about a police building being erected and trying to get him to say his name on camera so she could presumably do everything she could in her power to ruin his life. I won't say her name, but it is plenty easy to find it if you want to. She clearly instigated the confrontation, and it obviously wasn't civil, as you have seen, so he was in no position to tell her his real name. He says Hugh Mungus instead, just to be a smartass, but I assume she would have kept harassing him even if he said nothing. Still, when she accuses him of sexual harassment, he stays cool and repeatedly says no, he didn't mean it in a sexual way. Which, remember, humongous is not an inherently sexual term. Hell, he could have been referring to his weight because he's kind of a big guy. So if we were to use her type of logic, somebody could maybe say she was body shaming him by making such a big deal out of it or some other nonsense. Blah. I have spent a very large amount of time in Seattle, and I can assure you that Seattle activists are about the absolute worst in terms of being effective. They're generally just downright annoying. They take all their cues from the Bay Area, and they rarely do anything substantial because they kind of have to invent the same type of problems that are going on in the Bay Area up in Seattle. And then they just whine and turn everybody off from whatever cause they are trying to draw attention to. And half the time those causes are, insubstantial in Seattle anyway. Or things they'll never have a chance in hell of changing, like the fact that they are going to build a new police building. Sorry, lady, but you won't stop the police force from building new buildings by attempting to start smear campaigns towards citizens that support it. I'm not even saying I support the new building personally, but that's just the truth. The absolute worst thing about her was, well, there's plenty of, worst things about this woman, but if you read her Facebook post, she complains about the police state because she ended up getting in trouble after she tried to be a tattletale on the guy for saying the words humongous. She played victim, pretended she needed security to do something about it when they wouldn't. She kept harassing them, and when she wouldn't leave them alone, I guess they called the cops on her. Something like that. I think they probably had to. Somehow, this equates police state in her twisted little imagination, and now on her Facebook profile, she is trying to rally the troops with this lie that she was sexually harassed. And she specifically asks for masculine energy to get involved. Take a look right here. So basically, she's everything wrong with feminists these days. They'll instigate drama and then play the victim and then go so far as to demand that men be the ones to come bail them out. Come on. This is just one example of the type of insanity coming from Seattle activists, but I'll give you a few more. See, this city is actually fairly nice in a lot of ways and doesn't have a whole lot of tangible things for activists to do. But since it is totally left-leaning, full of aging hippies and their children, there is a huge supply and demand problem in terms of things to protest. So people in Seattle basically just make shit up and embarrass the entire political left on a global scale in the process, like in the case I just showed you, and also with this case. Or should I say, case is. In 2015, there were something like 4 or 5 cases of outrage in Seattle that actually got press due to basically offensive band names. The most offensive were child abuse and Viet Cong, both of which I can legitimately see the objection to if I were to be a gigantic prude and not myself, because they could be seen as promoting things as cool that are definitely uncool. Like abusing children and a guerrilla army that brutalized, tortured, and massacred countless people last century. But they also got offended by the band names cunts, which is just feminist nonsense, and a band called Black Pussy, which I will agree is pretty fucking tacky and embarrassing to name your band, but not actually offensive in any way if you really break it down, even though the band members were white men. I mean, I'm gay, and if some straight dudes want to call their band The Faggots, or even Homo Porn Star Jizz Cock, I seriously wouldn't care. Unless they call their band Kill All Gay Men, I really wouldn't have a problem with it. Next, let's look at the Betty Page mural that was vandalized by some feminists with the profound message of "Stop exploiting women's bodies," and clearly missing the fact that it was a painting and not a real woman's body anyway, and also that Betty Page was a famous feminist icon, at least in the 90s, and the owner of the house considers herself a feminist. Hopefully not anymore, but whatever. The last thing I have to say about Seattle is that if any moment killed Sanders' candidacy, and I was a Sanders supporter, it was the catastrophic Black Lives Matter protest with the two idiot women who jumped on stage and demanded the mic. I'm sure you've seen the footage before, so I won't rehash it in my video, but I'll link it at the bottom. The two basically scream like morons after the guy asks them to be reasonable. They're like, "We are reasonable! We are reasonable! Blah!" It's actually pretty funny. But the saddest part is that even after they were totally rude and hijacked the event of a presidential candidate that was the biggest ally to anti-racism, and they started speaking on the mic, the Seattle audience was in support of them. They were cool enough to mostly cheer for these two assholes. You can watch it for yourself. The only time the audience starts booing was after they were cheering for a while, and then the main idiot faked tears and called the audience a bunch of white racists, which would kind of turn the mood of any crowd around. Anyhow, Seattle activists are the most pathetically misguided motley crew of leftists that I know of. But maybe you can beat me. Let me know in the comments if there is a city that you think has worse, and I'll check it out. And make sure to like and subscribe to my channel if you want to hear more from me. Okay, good night.